Hi, my name is Christopher Lester, and I'm going to be your presenter on this topic of creating a solid college plan. Now, there's me before I had a beard, pre-COVID, and there's my beautiful family. Quite a few years ago, my younger daughters are now 14 and 12, and still the apples of my eye. But I know a little bit about college and college planning. I grew up in Edison, moved out to Neshannock Station, and right from high school, I went into the Navy. I went into the Navy to be Navy SEAL. My uncle was Navy SEAL. I wanted to follow in his footsteps. However, when I got in, I found out that my eyes and my vision disqualified me from participating in BUDS. But I got a wonderful education in mechanical engineering. I learned how to take things apart and put them back together. I took that skill set and I've applied it to finance ever since. So I have some designations after my name. I'm a chartered financial consultant. I'm a certified college planning specialist. I'm also a retirement income certified planner. So with over 30 years in business and helping families to approach college and navigate this complex arena, I think I'd ask you to sit back and relax, grab a cup of coffee or something to drink, and allow me to show you a few things. A little bit more about me. Own a few companies, education funding specialist, professional planning services. I've spoken at New Jersey 101.5's Road to Financial Success. And I've also been published in some magazines here in New Jersey, just all in an effort to educate the community. I also have taught classes over at Rutgers on retirement and over at their business school, to the public and to staff and alumni. Having done this for a long time, all these areas are interlaced, and which is why the area of college has to be focused on, because we want to do so as efficiently as possible so we can then come out the other side and be able to prepare for retirement. I'm not going to read every slide to you and everything, because otherwise this video will take too long. But there are some people that have left some testimonials in the past. I really enjoy helping families. If you want to pause here, read through here, you're very much welcome to do so. So let's get started. So today's topics, we're going to talk about the 3 important steps when choosing a college, 4 categories of financial awards and which ones you should focus on, the simple 3-step process to pay less for college. So ultimately paying wholesale versus retail, the 4 big problems you'll face in this process: picking schools, testing, student positioning, how to pay for college, and important updates for today's college-bound students. So the 3 important steps when choosing a college. Number 1, match your student to the right set of schools where they are a top candidate. That's really, really important. I know, most students, when I meet with them in their freshman and sophomore year, have no idea where they want to go to school. But through a design process, having the students select schools where they're really at the top of the class is an important strategy. Then we want to take that analysis and create competition amongst peer schools for your student, and then ultimately choose the college that your student is matched up well with so that they can do well and graduate, and then ultimately get out into the field force with marketability job set. 4 categories of financial aid. The first thing that you will hear probably the most about is need-based aid. Then you'll hear merit-based aid, academic, talent, athletic. But the family's ability to pay is always considered. So need-based aid. Most families, especially here in the Northeast, simply will not qualify for need-based aid. There's just combined households that are just making too much in income, or they have too many assets or money held in the wrong places. So we'll talk more about that. Merit aid. Now, this is the area where we go after the funds. I was a Boy Scout, but merit-based awards are offered to students that they really want to attract. So they are looking at the SATs, the ACT scores, their GPA, their class rank. If they have a talent, a musical ability, artistic ability, or they participated in community services, all this stuff goes into part of the evaluation for the student. And then ultimately athletic. If you are Division I, maybe Division II athlete, there could be some funds. Although on rare occasion, I have seen a Division III student get some type of offer disguised in the form of merit-based award, which was actually an attraction to the family for the student to attend to swim on their swim team. All right, so our simple three-step process: student positioning, financial positioning, and financial aid form filing. So here's what you have to understand. You, as a student, are going to be one of among 3.65 million students was in 2020. I mean, it's one of the largest classes ever to graduate high school, of which about 65%. So let's just say 2.5 million, 2.75 million going off to 4,000 universities and colleges across the country. That's the problem. There's just so much demand for a very limited supply. Our goal is by October 1st of the senior year that the student has narrowed down that 4,000 thick book, 4,000 school thick book, right, of colleges, universities across the US to the top 10, 15 schools they'd be willing to attend. It's really, really important. You're going to see, I say here, competition is high, and we want the students and the families to, when they're in discussions with the students, to pick mostly schools in the green school, and we'll explain what that means. So recent changes. So the SAT and ACT tests are optional for a wide range of colleges and universities, but just because they're optional doesn't necessarily mean that's to the family's advantage, right? We'll talk more about that. Finding that many colleges are not accepting award appeals anymore. They have their own forms. So, you know, a lot of our strategy in the past is to appeal. Well, everybody has learned to appeal. Well, they're not just necessarily entertaining that. You have to have some basis of appeal. EFC, your calculation is changing to something called the Student Aid Index starting July 1st of 2023. And then the simplified FAFSA is coming July 1st of 2023. So it's reducing it from about 100 questions to about 40, right? So they're just trying to streamline this, but not a lot has changed in the evaluation process. It sounds less threatening, right? Because it's not called the expected family contribution. They're really trying to dial it into saying, oh, this is the student aid index, but it really does boil down to what can the family help to contribute to the school. So here's a philosophy that I really hope not only the parents to get their head around, but the students as well, because the sooner everybody understands the arena that they are entering into, the better off we are able to strategize into helping the family pay for college without going broke. So imagine I'm the only Dunkin' Donuts within a 50-mile radius of right here. How busy do you think I would be? Well, just like in this picture, very busy. Colleges are a business with a capital B, right? And it's a billion-dollar industry. So college is not going to be free, but there are ways to get discounts. So we can pay wholesale versus retail if we position the student and the family correctly. So again, everyone in this line wants a discount, but not everyone's going to get one. Not everybody's done the work. So you see that person that is facing the front door with his back to us, right? Let's say I'm the owner of that Dunkin' Donuts and I want him, let's say maybe he's a contractor and he's going to build on a drive-through. And if I do him a favor, he's going to help me out in the future. Well, he's got a fat wallet. He has resources. He has something I want. I'm going to give him a discount. That's really what's going on here, but on a different level with the families as they approach schools. So this is something else that's changed because of COVID, right? You have USA Today that these colleges survived world wars, the Spanish flu and more, but they couldn't withstand COVID-19 pandemic. That's why you're going to get sticker shock when you start to see what the annual tuition is now for these schools. They built these institutions and now they have to continue to fund them for both staff and then all the technology that they've invested in. So here's problem number one. The colleges don't care. They don't care if you go into debt to pay for college, right? They're a business. The national student debt in April 2022 hit 1.75 trillion. That's with a T, of which about 45 million Americans still currently have outstanding student debt. Now you hear about, regardless of political, what side of the aisle you or what you believe in, but a lot of people, well, I'm going to hold off until they cancel the debt. But that's maybe some student debt, but not necessarily for family debt, right? If they paid for this stuff, and we can only saddle our students with so much debt. So whether it's relieved or not, I would not use that as a strategy to pay for college. Problem number two, graduation rate, right? So here's what happens is students go into colleges for whatever reason they selected a school, pick majors, change their mind, and then end up extending the amount of time that they're in there. So the percentage of students finishing colleges within 4 years is about 50%. So you go in there and you're like, well, I don't like this major and I'm going to change it. And now you've just extended your tuition, at anywhere from $40,000 to $80,000 a year. So only about 50% of the students completing a 4-year degree in 4 years. Many colleges now routinely report their graduation rate as a percentage of students who graduate in 6 years. So be careful when they say, oh, a lot of our students graduate on time. Define on time. So problem number three, it's a confusing process. High school guidance counselors, we pay our taxes. We want support from our local school systems, but they're just typically too overwhelmed. The pure volume of students, right? Typically, maybe the troublemaker students will be demanding more of the counselor's attentions than my girls are really focused, laser focused, but they're shy. So they're not being sought out to help them through this college process, right? Then the FAFSA, the CSS profile forms, other financial institutional forms can be complex. And if you make a mistake, by the time you figure it out, nobody's typically telling you. It's typically too late. And families can be penalized for doing a great job, right? So you turn around, you made a mistake, but you did everything else perfect. Sometimes there's just zero tolerance for missing a deadline. And there's a lot of noise and conflicting info out there, right? So, there's just, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody says, the media talking points, whatever, but, you have to have a track to run on strategies. So in review, we have more high school graduates and more competition. Colleges are overwhelmed by the sheer volume of the applicants. Colleges' costs and debt are continuing to rise. Over 50% of the students are taking longer than 4 years to graduate, and the process is more confusing than ever. So now let's get into picking schools. How do students typically pick schools? Well, they're going to go there because their boyfriend's going there, their girlfriend's going there, all their friends are going there. The school has a good or a cool reputation. It's a party school, right? They're all party schools, right? They see something, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, football game on there and say, that's the college experience. That's what I want to go to. And that's how they pick their schools. And we have to caution against that. Now, the parents typically, well, how much does it cost? Money, money, money. Or I went there. And this is, if you don't learn anything else from me, picking a school just because of its proximity could be a huge mistake in the overall financial award game. And what I mean by that, if schools have algorithms and they want a unique incoming freshman class to fill their incoming student body, and if everybody is from their local community, well, then there's really not a lot of that perceived value proposition. However, if we can pick some schools that are out of area, Tennessee, Texas, I don't pick colleges, I don't pick schools, but one or two out of areas should be on our radar, because then as a student from New Jersey or in the Northeast going out to the Midwest could have an attractive appeal to a school that is trying to blend or to create a unique student body. So the goal of proper student positioning is to minimize costly changes during the collegiate career by following a carefully designed process, choosing a career, a school, and a major. So here's the shocking statistics. It's estimated that mere 27% of college grads are working in fields closely related to their major. Personality tests and career analysis. Self-assessment tests can be a great tool to help students determine their interests, their values, their skill, their personality. Identifying strong personal qualities and relevant career interests can help lower the risk of making costly mistakes down the road. We use something that has based like on a Myers-Briggs type personality called Focus 2. But at the end of the day, you go to school for 4 years. Let's say you want to study meteorology, and all of a sudden you get out and you go, I hate meteorology, or I didn't want to be on TV, or whatever it is. That's where a little bit of early stage planning or research by the student while they're in high school can avoid some of these changes later. Testing, right? So the SAT and ACT, are they really important? What should I do if the SAT or ACT is optional? It depends, but I strongly encourage students to take the SATs or the ACTs. Now they're pretty much unilateral, so you pick one, and whichever one sort of fits your demographics, area, location. Typically in the Midwest, they do the ACTs. In the Northeast, along the Eastern Seaboard, they typically do the SATs. But for whatever reason, there's a science component. You want to do the ACT, you certainly can do so and submit that. It's a looming question, but it is necessary for merit aid, right? They're just not going to give you merit aid if you can't prove your worth. Colleges have to create their own tests and still believe SATs and ACTs will be used in the future. So, just because you hear, right, is, oh, they're, you know, just we're not going to be rewarded for something that could be typically deemed as skirting an issue, or maybe your student's not a great test taker, or maybe they took it 3 times and got the same score 3 times. Well, remember, it's how many students are applying for that seat that make it so important to practice, prepare, and do well on these tests in an effort to put our best foot forward. National Association of College Admissions Counselors has, ranked all the importance of admissions factor. The top 4: leadership, essay writing, SAT, ACT, and AP courses. So if your student has the ability to take AP courses in high school and do well, right? Don't take AP courses in biology or chem and get a C. But if you're like, well, I got a B in AP versus I got an A in honors, well, I would take the B in AP, because the workload, the weighting that the colleges will give for more difficult courses is absolutely paramount. Again, whether you use some system, self-study, personal tutor, classroom prep, or an online prep course, of all the things that I think that the schools look at, one of the most heavily, especially when we've seen the awards come, is the SAT and SAT scores. So we use a program, comes with our programs, called ePrep. It was designed and engineered by a Princeton grad. We've been using this for quite a few years now, and the students that have used this have really done well. And it's a combination of just sharpening your saber as you're approaching these tests, because they are so heavily weighted. So student positioning. So colleges, again, you will see we don't deviate from this theme. They are a big business. However, they do have empty seats to fill, especially with COVID, right? They're like, and now with affordability, right? So they're faced with this dilemma, right? But they will compete for students, and they will pay for great students. So that's the thing, we have to position ourselves. That's why I said early on that, just because your friends are going to a school, right? I'm not talking the Ivies. I'm talking, not even necessarily mini Ivies. There are a lot of schools out there that will absolutely want to attract, quality students to help fill their student body. We call that concept student positioning. And many families qualify for financial aid even though they think they've earned too much money, right? And 80% of students attending private colleges receive some type of financial aid. So I put this up there because a lot of conversations, train advisors, and as I'm showing in helping people, some of the numbers we're going to see on some of the awards early on, you're going to go, well, those tuitions are lower. Well, this I just did pre-COVID. Had a client come to me, and we were discussing, they had some granddaughters that they wanted to start putting money away. And I started to help them to understand this. So I started doing some research on what the cost of college that a lot of colleges I've seen students apply to. I mean, this is right now, this is sticker shock. If you had told me 10 years ago that the average school was about 50 to 70, 80,000, I would have laughed, but it is absolutely a fact now. This is a spreadsheet that I send out to students. This student got all the data we inputted. So we can do a fair side-by-side comparison, but the tuitions here, you can see all of them, except for Rutgers, which was about 30, all these are 50 to 60, and that was in 2017, 2018. Not every school gave awards. But when you start looking at a school that, like Seton Hall, that is 50,000 and you get 25,000, it starts to make it a little bit more affordable. So this is a part of the process, helping, but they don't just give awards, that you have to position yourself. And at the end of the day, whatever the net out of pocket is, you have to figure out how we're going to cash flow that. So now, student positioning results. These are some of my success stories. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. If you want to stop these, look at these, but let me do the first one first, and then the rest of them I'll go pretty quick. So this was back in 2007. The family's annual income was 127,000. The SAT scores, they took it twice. They got 1230 the first time. They got 1350 the second time. Providence College up in Rhode Island was 40,000. And the range was 1110 to 1280. So you could see that by taking the SAT again, they finished in the upper echelon of the SAT range, and the average merit was 85, but they awarded this family 26,000. Now, as I start to go through these, Bridgewater, this was Crystal. She ended up going to the school for veterinarian school. A family was making 90. She got 1230. Because she did so well in the SATs and the school she was looking at, she was overmatched for. They gave her a significant chunk of the change, $18,000 at a $34,000 school. So this was Michael, 72,000 at Lynchburg is what the family was making to go to Lynchburg. Cost of attendance was 36. He was not a great test taker. He did awful. But because he looked at areas and we did appeal, they ended up giving him, because they were starting out a business program at their school and he researched it. He ended up graduating that school, and then he's working for JP Morgan in New York now. But, it's just, there's different ways to have success. So this is Ryan at LaSalle. Family was making 96, cost of attendance 45. Now he was a Boy Scout. They gave him $32,000 at a $44,000 school. Not too bad. This was Danielle, and she turned around. Family was making 208. She did take the SAT twice. I'll explain it a little bit more in depth if you care to know. But bottom line is, she had started to really just pressure the family. I want to be done with this. I just want to pick the school. This is where I want to go. Their first offer was 15,000. And then they came back and we wrote an appeal letter, and immediately took 15, and that's a year, $15,000. Once you get that offer, it's per year, right? So then they edited their award to 17.5, right? So there was a small increase to the family, but we don't encourage families accepting the school until May 1st of their senior year, right? When they're going off to school in the fall, because that's when all schools have agreed that they're filling their seats. That's when their final tally is done. So a week before she was going to attend, they got a phone call from the purser and basically said, look, if your daughter will attend here, we'll give her a full ride. They really wanted her. So you got to be careful about showing your hand too early, demonstrating too much. Now, does that always happen? Is everybody going to get? No, but there is an underlying element of just common sense that you say, hey, listen, if you go ahead and think about a car dealership. You walk into a car dealership, and if you want to pay retail, they'll absolutely write you up. But you wait until the end of the month, and next thing you know, that salesperson's calling you saying, hey, maybe we could work something out. This is Vanderbilt in Tennessee. Again, picking schools out of area. Families making $150,000 a year. And again, this is 2011, 2012, Syracuse. This student here, this was a needs-based award. They did get a full ride. So, in the spirit of full disclosure, Villanova doesn't give discounts. They will give need-based aid. They won't give any merit-based aid. So, but $54,000 to a family who was a real estate investor back in 2005, 2006, and then lost everything in 2008. So they were destitute. But the student was going to Del Barton, a very good school, and ended up applied to Villanova with great grades, SATs, everything, and was able to go to school on their dime. 2012, George Mason. This is the second student. Dad's an anesthesiologist. They threw the family 14 grand. When the family's making $800,000 a year, and they threw the family 14 grand. Listen, I don't pick schools, but they know that if they get that student to attend that school, that they will be in mom and dad's pocket for a long time to help make donations and contributions to fundraisers in the future. Let's see, Carnegie Mellon. This is my second student here. Ended up, dad's an attorney, making 260. SAT range, did really well. Got 1540 on his SATs, and you can see the SAT range was 1520. A family making $250,000, they at a $55,000 school, they paid 38,000. So again, schools will pay for students they want. Yale, this one here, although an Ivy, I do think they don't give any merit, and that's why the Ivies will not give any merit. But they were of Hispanic descent. Student had, that in their corner. Okay on the SATs, they were on the lower side, but still threw the family 9 grand. So Rutgers, now I show this because, the family's making $250,000. The student did 1310, came in at the upper top side. Rutgers got some great programs. At the time, Rutgers was 28, but notice average merit's 2,300. Student award, they got nothing. So why would I show this? And the reason is because when I have an opportunity to talk to the students, right, I was able to say, look, we ran the spreadsheet. These are the schools they picked. You pick $22,000 out of pocket, right? Would be the cost. No scholarship from Rutgers for this student. But they were looking at Delaware at 40. And you know what? Mom and dad considered this a win because the student went to Rutgers. So, when I can help the students understand, I don't pick colleges, but at the end of the day, the math is the math and the facts are the facts. So you can start making decisions on where you're best suited, and ended up getting into Rutgers MBA program, doing really well. So reviewing student positioning, personality tests can be useful tools to help the students to define their interests. Students should thoroughly research careers, schools, and majors. SATs and ACT preps and strong scores is critical in affording a student greater merit awards. Parents can and should be involved in the process, but don't write your students' essays, right? They're definitely a big no-no. And merit aid is very real, right? Families of all financial backgrounds can receive impressive rewards if the student targets the correct set of schools that he or she is well matched for. So how to pay for college, right? Now that we know how to get into college, let's talk about how to pay for it. And I just show this slide, right? When I was doing classes or workshops at the library to help the students under 10, I would encourage the students to come to help the students understand the math problem that they were up against. So the public school at the time, if it was 70,000, right? If a parent or family spends $70,000 for one tuition or 140, and now it's in excess of 200, and we take the time value of money, right? And we say, look, that $200,000, because we paid for capital purchase, which is a higher education, right? And for 15 years at 6%, that's $400,000, or 20 years at 6%, that's $600,000. It's not in the family's retirement accounts. And that's what I help mom and dad to understand. So we have to take this team approach. Not everything's about money, but we still can't go into this blindly, just going, well, I want to go there because all my friends are going there. Also, the complexity of getting aid. Unfortunately, the financial aid forms are complex. Even though they're simplifying, they're still not here yet. And I've seen them trying to simplify things before, and they even get more confusing. As a result, many parents give up thousands of dollars by filling the forms out incorrectly, listing assets they didn't have to, or double or counting assets. Families use much more of their assets than they need to. Exempt assets from the equation, and I can show you in one of my slides when I'm doing one-on-one meetings. I'll show people right on the FAFSA form. These are exempt assets, things you don't have to include. They tell you not to include cash value life insurance, annuities, retirement plans, 529s if owned by the non-custodial parent or grandparent. So these are exempt. So 529s, I do 529s. If somebody wants them, I'm not a fan of them. I think they're great vehicles for from a tax perspective. They're horrible from getting money from the colleges, right? They're basically think about it like this. As a business, the school is going to expect the family to spend their money, right? The 529 first before they get any of the free money. So I have just come to the conclusion and tried to help families, depending on how much time we have, maybe we need to rethink that strategy. Data mining. This technology has been around decades, and schools are using detailed data to systematically cut aid to students whose behavior shows they are likely to accept admission anyway. What's that mean? It means if you're turning around and hopping online and filling out questionnaires and going to college fairs and putting down your name and saying, "Hey, I got to go to my favorite school since I was 4 years old is Baylor, Baylor, Baylor," and you put down Baylor, right, over and over and over again. Well, Baylor has that data, and they're going to look at that and go, "You know what? The student's coming to Baylor regardless of whether we give them money." So you have to be careful. So, attitude adjustment number one, you have to arrange your financial strategies to accommodate the financial aid system. The financial aid system will not bend in any way to accommodate you. Attitude adjustment number two, do not view the college bill as a 1 year issue, right? It's a 4 to 8 year problem. If you view this as an annual issue, you'll find yourself doing a depressing dance, spinning around, doing wanting what's best for your child and what you can really squeeze out. So, like I said, let's just do some math here. $70,000 a year. That's $280,000 math problem for a 4 year education. That's for one student. You got two students, we're in excess of $500,000. The three students, $750,000. It's insane. But this is the arena that we're in now. So I get it. I understand it. So listen, it's not going to be free. But if I can get a $70,000 school to cut off $20,000 off their price tag, now it's 50. It's better. It's a discount. So our financial goal for the families is minimize change in cash flow, accelerate the mortgage payoff time, minimize college debt, utilize new concepts, solve the age-old problem, safety, liquidity, rate of return, right? So we just need to, whatever we're going to do, we need to be safe in any strategies. So how can EFS help? This is my education funding specialist company. So one, student positioning, two, financial positioning, three, financial aid form filing. So student positioning services, access your own portal. We call that Angus. It is not a cow because it's spelled with an E, right? But Angus is my back room, right? So we have a team of experts that really help take and hold the student's hand as well as mom and dad's hands through the entire process. You have a track to run on. You have a detailed timeline for the college process, the personality tests that I referenced, the focus two, the career information and matching, school information and comparative analysis, SAT and ACT prep services, optional essay services. Now, if somebody opts in for that, that is a separate component. There is a cost to that. I don't make a nickel off that. We'll put you in touch with some experts. So focus two, this is just like I said, it's like a Myers-Briggs based test, but it really helps the student to look inwardly to say, hey, what do you like? What's your belief system? What's your values? This is important so that you don't start going down a whole direction to only find out that you didn't realize that you hated chemistry and you wanted to be a meteorologist, right? So I've seen it happen before where students get, sort of caught up in something in high school and they say, oh, I think I might like that. But I was young too, right? I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And it's unreasonable typically for us to expect our students to know. Now, if you're one of those students and you know that you want to be a physician or an engineer or an attorney, awesome. but the majority of folks do not. But it does alleviate the responsibility of us starting to do or to answer some questions in a way that might help us point us in the right direction. That's what this focus program does. It allows you to sort of look at options so you can pick a field of studies that you'd be well matched for based on the way you've answered those questions. So you can go through and read this stuff here. So our Angus timeline and tracking, one of the things I point out is that there is zero tolerance with this school application process to miss the deadline. So having a second set of eyes on this safety net in place makes sure that we didn't miss something along the way. ePrep. ePrep comes with our programs, right? I really, like I said, I really have been impressed. Our students that have used it have done very well with it. And it just helps the students to, like anything, right? You just want to practice, right? So some of those books that you can buy at Borders or Barnes and Noble, right? They're okay. The PSAT prep or you want to get your SAT or your AP courses, right? I get it. But having something real time live to work through to understand the questions on your schedule without having to run someplace has been very valuable. Now, I mentioned the Green Line before. So what our ultimate goals, I didn't pick these schools, the student did, based on their SATs. And at the time, right, it's based on a 1,600 point scale, 800 reading, 800 math, right? So we want the student to pick, 10 schools. Roughly, if they can pick 5 to 6 in the green is the color of money. So the column all the way to the right, let's say LaSalle, is 1120. Their SAT scores were 1140. They finish in excess of the number to the right. So if you do that, that has value to the school. That means you're helping bring up the school's average of incoming. But as this student also applied on the orange to Marist, right? 1140, the income all the way to the right is 1260. You can make an argument that the student was in the middle of the pack at 1160, should have gotten something. The student was waitlisted. And what that tells me is from a enrollment standpoint, when they're doing something called enrollment management, right, that they had enough average. So 1140 compared to 1160, that's average. White males from New Jersey applying to a New York school. That's just how they looked at it. So, he was disappointed because that's where he wanted to go, but they didn't offer any money. He ended up going to LaSalle and getting a significant amount of money where he was a top candidate. That's the strategy. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So the financial positioning and form filing support, utilization of cutting edge financial strategies to help lower your EFC, now going to be your SAI, right? And then strategies to maximize merit aid. It absolutely can be done. Support negotiating awards, assistance in the initial completion of the FAFSA, now again, the SAI, the Student Aid Index form, which is not coming out till next year, but just a heads up. CSS profile and other forms. Develop a comprehensive form. Once you figured out what school you want to go to, now we still have to cash flow that. What's the best way to do that without sacrificing your retirement? And then ultimately, annual review of your financial situation. So here's our frequently asked questions, and I'm going to wrap this up, right? How much do your services cost? Between $19.95 and $24.95, depending on your complexity. And what I mean by that is if you're a business owner and you got 1120Ss and I got to grind through that, it's going to be $24.95. But 90% of the families I deal with are W-2 income earners. So it's $19.95. If you're watching this video, I will extend a discount of $400, right? So it'll bring it down to $15.95 if from the date of watching this video that you enroll with me. So that's a $400 discount. I'm here to help. Our process, 15-minute one-on-one chat. If you got extenuating circumstances, you got questions after watching this, can I help? There's no obligation. Just get on my calendar. Let's have a 15-minute chat. We'll go from there. Once we decide that maybe we can help, we're going to do a Zoom meeting. I'm going to meet the parents. Zoom usually takes about 30 minutes. We'll complete our intake form prior to that meeting. We'll go over it on the call, and we're going to talk about your student. We're going to see if there's a fit, right? I'm going to get to know your family circumstances. If I can help and you want to proceed, I'm going to ask for a 50% deposit. right? So after that, during our conversation, I'm going to help you understand how the colleges are going to view your circumstances. We'll share specific and actionable ways to protect your assets. That's why I'm asking for that data. I don't need sensitive data, so I don't need your Social Security numbers. I don't need your tax returns yet, right? Or brokerage statements. But I do need you to complete the form with a high level understanding of how you're currently positioned, because the colleges are going to ask this. So in order for me to give you a real assessment of what you're currently facing, I need you to be transparent with what you got. And then we'll help immediately protect the retirement by teaching and sharing with you alternative strategies, or stop making mistakes that you're currently might be heading towards. Then the second meeting, right? Now I'm going to invite you to bring the student on. So, quite often the students may not be aware that you've been doing this research. They don't understand. Again, I told you I have a 14-year-old. If I were to try and explain to her how much $70,000 is, she would have no clue, right? They get it. They see a car and they go, okay, yeah, that's roughly it. But they don't understand what an impact and how expensive this is. So you need to have some help and have somebody else that maybe can start to talk about them on a level that the high schools typically aren't. So I'm going to ask to meet the students. And one of the first questions I'm going to ask on that Zoom meeting is, do you want to go to college? Right? And if the student, I've never had a student say no, but if the student says no, okay, we're done. But if they say yes, then I'm going to help them to understand what they can do on their end, which is be the best academic and position the best and build their best resume that they possibly can on the amount of time that we have left. And then I will circle back with the family and we'll go over the rest of the stuff. So at the end of this meeting, if everybody's in agreement, then I'll collect the balance and we'll go from there. So my promise, during our conversation, I will help you immediately see the adjustments you should be making. At some point, you'll want to become my clients. And this is, I just recently wrote a book, a lot of it to people in the pharmaceutical arena. And the reason is because as I was helping families through, pay for college without going broke, quite often they were in the pharma industry. And it just now it's, it just sort of snowballed into where I am a retirement income certified planner. I just can help you to navigate these arenas so you can keep more of your money, so you can start to head towards a retirement that you want to. So how do we get your help? Book a 15-minute chat. And then from there, if I can help, I look forward to speaking to you. I want to wish each and every one of you a great day, and bye-bye.